Unsettling experiences happen to everyone, whether the events are tethered in something that would be called paranormal or in something more tangible. Either way, these experiences can be horrifying and may linger for a very long time to come. This episode of Seriously Strange is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is a provider of affordable private online counseling. BetterHelp offers an incredible amount of fully licensed counselors and therapists who can start talking to you right away to fit your specific needs, even for couples counseling. All you need to do to begin is head to betterhelp.com/RobDyke, linked in the description below, and fill out your questionnaire. These questions help you to get the best possible counselor or therapist who is just right for you, and they're there to help you get the most out of your experience. BetterHelp challenges the traditional in-person counseling method. They do this by being more affordable, while also providing financial aid you can apply for if you need it, and also by being more accessible, considering you'll be connected with your therapist at all times through their app or your computer. No more waiting once a week just to sit down with a counselor. You now have round-the-clock access to this person. A lot of people out there just aren't comfortable sitting down with an in-person therapist. A lot of people are also far more open when speaking to someone over the internet, which is understandable. But with BetterHelp, you no longer have to worry about that. Many of you know that I struggle daily with my own mental health needs, and I've been using BetterHelp for a while now already, long before they even reached out to me, so I can personally attest to how incredible and unique their service is. I use it very often, and it seems to have a never-ending supply of benefits for my life. So don't wait. You deserve to live the best life you can. We all do. Head down into the description below to betterhelp.com/RobDyke and get signed up today. Supporting them also supports me, but most importantly, it also supports you. Thank you for listening. On March 11th, 2016, a Reddit user named Newsies on a Mission posted a rather bizarre experience that they had in their past. Their story claims that between the ages of 5 and 7, from their second-floor bedroom, haunting faces could be seen when they looked out their bedroom window. Faces that stared back inside the bedroom at them. The house was in a heavily secluded area, a farmhouse to be exact, with no one nearby that would have perhaps explained what had been occurring for those 2 years. For those 2 years, they would see these faces in the window every single night. Some of the faces were normal, some had on bizarre expressions, and others were terribly distorted. The Reddit user years later chalked this up to an overactive imagination, but things would take a strange turn. Quite some time later, they moved out of the tiny farmhouse with faces in the bedroom window and into a new home. Jake had a 5-year-old daughter named Lily who took over the bedroom the Reddit user once occupied. Eventually, the Reddit user decided to visit Jake in their old home, and during their visit, Jake brought up a topic that shook the Reddit user to their core. Every night, Lily claims she sees faces in her window, Jake said, and she won't go to sleep. Newsies on a Mission, while shaken up, didn't mention anything about their experience seeing the faces at that point, and despite not believing in the paranormal, they were understandably chilled to the bone. A number of other Reddit users claim that there might have been carbon monoxide poisoning to blame, as this can trigger the very stereotypical haunting experiences that people claim to have. Eventually, Newsies on a Mission decided to tell their friend Jake that they also witnessed these faces when they were Lily's age, but Jake didn't believe it. However, it was suggested that Jake should test the home for potential issues like carbon monoxide poisoning. According to the user, Jake did test his home and found nothing alarming whatsoever. Perhaps the only way for a person to know about these faces for sure would be to spend a night in that tiny farmhouse bedroom. Anyone knows that going somewhere by yourself at night can be daunting. Even more so if you're a girl stranded at a gas station. It can easily become a lot more dangerous than you might think. Reddit user Wonderlandian recounts her unsettling experience after she endured one thing most people absolutely dread: having car issues in the middle of the night in an unfamiliar place. She realized that her tire was leaking air to the point that it was hazardous, so she was forced to pull over at a gas station, where she tried to put air in her tire. Unfortunately, due to a broken valve, the tire wouldn't inflate and instead went entirely flat, and Wonderlandian was forced to call AAA. While on the phone with the AAA dispatcher, however, she had no idea that something horrible was about to happen. A large, older black man approached her and asked if she needed help, disregarding that she was on a telephone call. Feeling a little awkward having someone try to talk to her while she was on the phone, she offered a polite smile and thanked him, and told him she had AAA on the phone and that they were going to take care of it. But the man persisted towards helping her and gestured back at his silver car, which was parked in a dark area of the parking lot. He went on to tell her that he would drive her anywhere that she wanted. She declined again. Then he said he was going into the gas station store for a soda and asked if she wanted anything. She declined yet again, trying to keep her composure as the man continued to push her into opening up to him. After he walked away, she promptly got back into her car and locked the doors. The AAA dispatcher, who had been on the phone the entire time and heard the conversation, asked Wonderlandian if she wanted her to call the police. Not wanting to appear as racist, she told the dispatcher no, but soon came to regret her decision. As she said, she has since learned the difference between racism and looking out for your own personal well-being. Despite Wonderlandian not wanting the police called, the dispatcher still considered the situation unsettling, so she bumped her to the top of the list for help, believing that Wonderlandian was in fact in danger. Eventually, she hung up with the dispatcher and waited in her car for help to arrive. That's when she looked to see if she could see her new friend anywhere and noticed he was standing about 20 feet from her car, staring directly at her with an unwavering gaze. Disturbed by this, Wonderlandian did her best to ignore the man as minutes passed. She would occasionally take small side glances at the man, who was still standing there, just staring, for over 15 minutes. She eventually looked away, and by the time she looked back around, he was gone, but certainly not gone enough. She found him back inside the store, crouching beneath a sign on the gas station's window, peering out at her still. Finally, she decided to call the police. The dispatcher offered to send an officer out to Wonderlandian's location, but yet again she declined, claiming that she just wanted the dispatcher to wait on the line with her until help arrived. The dispatcher still asked for her location, and once she gave it, the dispatcher paused before notifying her that the gas station she was at was incredibly dangerous, even by nationwide standards, and that she was dispatching a police officer immediately. The dispatcher told her to remain in her car with the doors locked until either the tow truck or the police officer arrived. Now even more nervous, that's exactly what Wonderlandian did, while she remained on the phone. Despite the anxiety of the situation, she felt a little bit more comfortable, not thinking that anything would happen and knowing that help was going to arrive. She cast a glance towards the store to see if the man was still creeping around, but he had disappeared yet again. She thought for a moment that maybe the man had finally left. But it turned out that she couldn't have been more wrong. Somehow, without her noticing, the man got into position in Wonderlandian's headlights and was walking right towards her car. She began to panic, and then the man reached down into his pants and withdrew his genitals. At this point, she burst into tears and started shouting into the phone what was happening and looked away, obviously not wanting to see what the man wanted her to. While she was looking away, the man rapidly approached her passenger side door and started attempting to force his way inside. Thanks to adrenaline, Wonderlandian no longer felt like a victim, but felt enraged. She screamed and swore at the man, telling him that she was on the phone with the police and to get away from her car. Thankfully, the man gave up after a few minutes and, instead of leaving, just walked over to some gas pumps as if he was going to make another pass at infiltrating her car at some point later. That's when finally the tow truck arrived. The tow truck driver approached her car, a little confused that she wasn't getting out to greet him, and then he could see the state she was in. She cracked the door for the driver and told him quickly what had happened, and furious, the driver assured Wonderlandian that he was going to make sure that the shithead didn't leave. The driver approached the creep, who was still standing at the gas pumps, and Wonderlandian expected a fight to ensue, but the tow truck driver did something she wasn't expecting. He asked the man for directions in order to stall for time for the police to arrive, and arrive they did. That's when police officers arrested the man for what he had done, while also finding a crack pipe in his possession and believing that he was under the influence of cocaine. It was something of a happy ending to a rather horrific turn of events. Particular horror movies have something of a bad energy attached to their production. Of all these types of movies, there's not quite a movie like The Exorcist. Reddit user Karth Von Monk explained that he attended a college which was partially used for filming some of the scenes of The Exorcist, particularly the basement level of one of the buildings on the campus. He said that while there were a number of spooky urban legends and tales surrounding his college campus, but any involving the Exorcist movie seemed hokey at best and didn't really get any sort of rise out of him. Some weeks after the end of his junior year, however, these tales would take a rather serious turn. He and some other students were all preparing for a trip overseas, and with the campus almost entirely cleared out aside from summer students, they all decided that it would be fun to sleep on campus together before they left for the airport the next day. One of the students who was going on the trip was also a member of the college staff, and they had access to a nice, empty, air-conditioned building for everyone to use. In a good mood and excited for the next day's trip, Karth Von Monk got ready to get some solid sleep before having to wake up and get ready to leave. Despite the air conditioning in some other areas of the building, he recalled how hot it was in the room he chose to sleep in. Between the heat and the excitement for his first overseas experience, it was difficult for him to get sleep, and eventually he felt the need to use the bathroom. Unfortunately, the bathroom was all the way down on the first floor, and he was staying in a room on the fourth. The Reddit user knew about the purportedly haunted occurrences that had taken place in this building. Though he didn't buy into any of these things, he also didn't want to traverse a dark building in the middle of the night alone. So he did his best to ignore it, but it became more and more difficult as time went on. Eventually, he bit the bullet and, using his phone's flashlight to see, made his way to the building's elevator that would bring him down to the bathroom. After using the bathroom without any issue, he got back to the elevator and prepared to get back to his room for some much-needed sleep. Once arriving back in the elevator, he hit the button for the fourth floor, and the doors slid closed. At this point, the user felt a little strange. The elevator wasn't going up like it was supposed to. It was going down, to the basement level. Being unable to do anything, he just stood there as the elevator came to a rest and the doors parted. Confusion and fear sent him into a cold sweat. No one who would have tampered with the elevator was even on campus, never mind staying in the same building that they were. Any hope of relaxing and getting sleep bled right out of Carth von Monk at this time. Carth von Monk claimed that his uplifted and excited mood shifted into more of a down and upset one, as he couldn't drive that night's haunting events from his mind, and he didn't exactly get a very good night's sleep after that either. Realizing it was the basement level, he pinched his eyes shut, not wanting to look out, but even if he chose to do so, the elevator doors opened to pitch black anyway. He frantically pressed the 4th floor button repeatedly until the doors finally began to close. But before they could, they slammed loudly, as if someone had jammed their arm in so the doors wouldn't close, and they reopened. He pressed the button again and again, and the doors jolted and kept from closing. Forced to open his eyes to be sure there wasn't something blocking the doors, it was as he expected and feared. Nothing was blocking the doors. And now he started to think he might have had to navigate through the pitch-black basement in order to find the stairwell. As his eyes peered out into the shadows of the basement, that's when he heard it. A voice muttering in the dark somewhere down in that basement. Heart pounding furiously, he hit the button again and again until the doors finally did close and took him up to the 4th floor. That's all for now. Remember, you may not believe it, but anything is possible in a world so seriously strange. Thanks again to our sponsor, BetterHelp. Be sure to check them out, linked below. And subscribe to my channel now, because you won't want to miss what's next. And I'll see you next time.